Well, this has kind of been a disaster now, hasn't it? Man, why am I facing that way? Hold on, something don't feel right. Let me. There we go. I want to make it seem like I'm actually paying attention to the people in front of me if people come in. Something. So, I have not seen the Nintendo Direct yet. The Switch 2 Direct. I have not watched that yet. Although, kind of hard to avoid all of the um, rumors and the circumstances going on right now. They basically say um, that you know like the price is too high. Like that is everywhere. I don't know what the prices are for outside of apparently a Mario Kart game, which leaked, rumored. I kind of figured as much, and a 3D Donkey Kong game, but that's all I know about it. I don't know the price for the console. I don't know much about that. And I kind of wanted to like dig it on stream into it a bit because I've been trying to. I was planning on doing a live stream reaction, delayed, yes, to the Switch 2 Direct, but now I mean it's partially spoiled. I feel like I actually have on the side, I have some stuff pulled up for that. Let's go ahead and pull that up really quickly here. Let me go ahead and. Okay. Oop. This. I. This is the most I've seen in the Nintendo Direct as of right now. And it'll probably be more in a moment, but from what I understand, now I'm just going to be watching bits of pieces. I'm just kind of skimming through this. I'm not going to like watch the whole thing. I'm just gonna skim it and give my thoughts on what types of things are being announced. I'm assuming this is one of them. Mario Kart World. I wonder. So I watched a video predictions video prior to all this. I've been trying to avoid as much as possible in the aftermath of it, but I'm assuming this is supposed to be like an open world Mario Kart game. In which case, Nathaniel Bandy got that right. Because I'm not gonna be watching this for an hour. In fact, I'm gonna mute it because these keep disconnecting. Um, I'll probably watch this on my own time later in full. Okay, Mario Kart World. Oh, unlocking costumes. That's actually kind of cool. Interesting. Hmm. Okay, well, these are not cooperating, so I'm going to take them out. So I'll mute anyway. Oh, Discord? Huh. Okay. Weird. Bigger screen. Game share. Why is French dialogue on the screen? Hmm, that's interesting. I'm pretty sure President Trump's tariff situation is totally not going to delay this at all. You know, outside of the obvious delayed pre-orders, which how many people have actually pre-ordered this console? I wonder. Okay, HD. I mean, I can definitely see a difference in these games, but not to the point where I'd buy them again. Okay, I'm starting to kind of see the complaints of that. I'm just kind of skimming through it. What the heck? Oh, Hogwarts Legacy. Meh. Okay. This is interesting. Hmm. Um. Oh. This is that Donkey Kong game that I overheard about. Okay. Okay. I know I don't look too excited, but I'm just looking at this for the gist. Oh. GameCube games coming to the online service. Alright, well, people did want that a lot. Okay, I get the big picture. Anywho. Hold up. So, I'd have to look up the prices to see what like the complaints are about and endless me here. Let's fix that. So, what exactly what I want to know what the different prices like what is the cuz again, I'm going into this mostly blind. Okay, $450 for the Switch. Um, I'm sure there's a reason behind that. I have a hard time believing there'd be no reason behind it whatsoever, but that's still pretty expensive, all things considered. Okay. I'm looking at Nintendo's base website for this kind of thing. Let's see here. Huh. This stuff definitely looks appealing. Not that that's really much when you can't afford it. hmm. They always hide the price at the bottom of the page. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, no, I see why people are complaining. $80. I mean, what, 8 Deluxe was 60, I think. If it is an open world game, I guess that somewhat would make sense given how long it's been since the games have been like 30, $40. But back then they were small and linear. They you could beat them in like what, 10 hours, I think. 20 hours maybe. Like Mario 64 back on the N64 was about 20, $30 depending on where you got it and if it was new or not. I remember that being about that much and it was I mean it was a short game. You could probably beat that game within like without glitching it, maybe 6, 7 hours if you're good enough. But I mean, Breath of the Wild, for example, big game, really, really big game. Costed $60 at the time, I believe. Um, huh? And it takes, at least for me, the shortest amount of time it took me to casually beat that game. I would say maybe be I think it takes me about 70 to 80 hours to 100% the game without the Korok seeds because, no one wants to do that. So no, yeah, it's interesting. And that game was pretty big. So I guess if well, let's see, 24 tracks or 24 races, that's already bigger than any. Like for Mario Kart World, for example, 24 races is already like it's double the amount that they've their biggest so far. Um, let's see. I mean, if it is an open world game, that's another thing, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to reason why it would be like that, why the price would be so big, and how long it took them to make the game, how much it costs them to make the game. Not to mention, at least for us in the U.S., the whole tariff thing that just went up that actually the government is trying to overturn, which bless their souls for that because it's not making things easy for any of us whatsoever. On a financial aspect, it's actually making things worse. But no, yeah, I'm sure they're going to overturn it. I don't think it's going to last very long, but it is delaying the whole Switch 2 thing, which, if it did stick, it would probably. Well, let's see, it's 10%, so 450, 10% of that, knowing including taxes and all that, it'd probably be over $600 at that point, if I were to guess. Which, that's if they don't overturn it, which I doubt will happen. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but either way around. Personally, do I think the Switch is worth it? While on the Nintendo side, I quickly took a glance at the specs that were known about the Switch, and or the Switch 2, I mean, and the OG one had 32 gigs, $300. Well, actually, I think it was like $250. This one, just from the gigabytes alone, like, yeah, it's also got the HDR, 4K, stuff like that. That would already up the price by at least 50 to 100. At least if you base it off of like comparing to everything else. But then you got things like the amount of space that you have in this one compared to the original. 32 gigs versus 256 gigs. That's over 8 times the amount of space. Realistically, financially speaking, let's say the physical built console was the exact same. Like there were no differences as far as like features go, but the space was that much bigger. By technicality, that should be at least on a financial standpoint, that would at least add another 150 when you look at all other consoles that have done stuff like this. And realistic, I'm not backing them up. I still think the pricing sucks, but I'm just trying to reason with why this would be the case. And now that the more I think about it, the more it's like, well, I mean, the amount of space you have, the HDR, the 4K, those three things alone, by technicality, should make it more than it is. But, like, when you look at the logistics of things, I mean, I'm glad it's not. I wish it was less because, no one can afford anything nowadays. But at the same time, it could be worse. Um, I guess for me, it's more of a case of, hey, like, what about the $80 thing? $80 for a game. That is really high. However, it's not the worst. Persona 3 Reload, for example, when I bought the game, I bought it for $120 for every detail about it, for everything in the game. These games that are $80, I'm pretty sure everything's already in the game, so that's cheaper. 120 is more than 80. Who knew? Now, that's one game comparison. I know it's not saying very much, but I guess for me, it's more of a case of it could be worse. It should be better, but it could be worse, kind of thing. Um, like I guess another thing for me, at least, I am buying it. I am gonna get a Switch too, but I probably won't get it until sometime next year, probably. Um, to the point where the release, I don't think it's going to. I don't think it's gonna not happen, but I do not believe it's going to be. The release date is going to be the same as what it initially was. And if it is, there's no way the price is going to be the same either way around. And even if it is, if this whole thing gets turned around, which it most likely will because it's probably screwing the U.S. over on several fronts, um, I'm still probably going to wait it out a bit because I did the same thing with like the PS5. That console was released in 2020, and there is a video on here that says that my ex-wife Amber got that console for me, but the truth of the matter is I actually bought it myself. Um, but I didn't do that until I had the money, but the only way I was able to do that was through like uh, saving a certain amount and waiting till the beginning of a year where it was more accessible to me. And I'm probably going to do the same thing with the Switch too. And when it comes to games, I'm very particular, very picky. Now, anyone who subs to me on here knows I'm a PC. I'm a PlayStation gamer more than anything else, unless it's specific titles. Like I've played Mario Kart. I've played quite a few Mario games. I played Smash on here at a point. I've played Splatoon. I am binging all the Zelda games one by one. The only one I'm doing right now is Echoes of Wisdom, but not editing it for several reasons. But I mean, just where does this leave us? Like, say the Switch 2 just doesn't show up in the US. What are we gonna do? Well, I'm sure we'll be able to figure something out. And if that happens, I'll compensate. Like I said, I've always been. I don't know what's going to happen on that front. And I'm not too concerned, to be honest, because, again, nostalgia. Meaning I have millions of options to choose from as of right now. However, even if this does happen, I mean, the worst case scenario, we wait 4 years for all this to go away. That's still an extremely long time and ridiculous to have to wait for, but and I mean, let's say the prices do go down, hypothetically. Best case scenario, prices go down and this tariff in the US just doesn't stick. Best case scenario right there. A very unlikely scenario, I feel like, but it is one of the better. At that point, hallelujah. But the most likely scenario, from what I see at least, is that this tariff does get reversed because I honestly don't see it sticking because of how much it can impact things outside of the gaming industry. Um, that part I think is most likely going to happen. But when it comes to Nintendo and their prices and the pre-orders and all that kind of stuff, I don't think the pricing is going to change. I think there are hundreds of reasons why it is the way it is. People just, because of where we are financially right now, people can't afford it. It is not much that can be done. Is it still one of the cheaper of the options? I mean, it's mid range, I would say. It still sucks, but I don't think it's going to change. I don't think the pricing on the console is at least going to change. The games? Maybe. But if it does, probably the best case scenario is they'll probably lower it by like $10. That's about it. I can't see it going back down to $60 or anything less than that ever. But I don't see it being very likely for them changing it. The way I see it, the most likely scenario that's going to happen here, in the US at least, for like everything going on with Nintendo, the tariff will get reversed. The pre-orders will still stay delayed, but will be solidified at a later date, regardless. And then after that, the pricing, I don't see the pricing going down. The most likely scenario is pricing stays the same, and no one owns a Switch 2 for maybe 6 months after its initial release, unless they have a lot of money to be able to burn on it, which a lot of people do, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who don't, so it's like 50-50. So I don't think the pricing is going to change. I think there is good reason for the pricing. It just wouldn't make sense. It's not consumer friendly. It makes sense, the reason behind it, but it's not consumer friendly. It's a hard headed clash that really shouldn't exist. But I guess that's what happens when you make huge games that are over 50 gigs of space sometimes. So, and I'm sure that's where Nintendo's finally reaching. I mean, their other games have been like, what, 8 gigs somehow? Even for games like Breath of the Wild that are as big as they are, somehow 8 gigs. I don't know. But now we've got games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which I did catch while scrolling, um, and stuff like that coming to the Switch. And that the only way to do that is the Switch would have to be the size it is, and the only way it can do that and carry that much power is, well, with enough processing power that would cost them probably thousands of millions of billions of dollars more to make. I guess that's like the one thing that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration. What we're paying is like 1% of what they pay to make the one product for us. Again, I'm not defending it. I still think it's not very user friendly or consumer friendly, but when you look at the numbers, um, one one console alone probably costs them over $1 million to make, if I were to guess. And we have to pay 1% of it to, like, not very high percentage. This is just, for those who don't know, this is kind of just sales productivity as a whole. This is not just video games. Uh, Food, for example, the food we consume from restaurants, we are paying an extremely small fraction of the cost that the owner of the industry pays to get the product there in the first place. Let's take McDonald's, for example. A Big Mac. We pay what? In the US, something around $10, something like that. I don't know. I haven't been to McDonald's for a while. Hypothetically, let's say it's that. What you're eating, what you paid for that $10 sandwich, cost them over $100 to make. I'm not even kidding. The products that they buy, they have to purchase to order to get to the stores, costs way more than any consumer ever has to pay. And this is not something anybody considers because they're thinking, can we afford it? Which makes sense. It's a consumer friendly way to think. And I mean, the same thing goes for electronics. Movies. $20 for a ticket to a film in theaters. That movie we're watching, the $20, is about, at best, in the creator's case, at best, about 0.1% of the funds used to make the film. Cheapest film I can think of costed, I think, about $250,000. It was like a low budget film. $20 ticket. $20 out of $250,000. Yeah. The games that we paid for back when it was like $30 probably costed them about the same to make at the time. About $250,000 to $300,000 per copy. The amount we pay is extremely small. Yeah, you're right. You are right about that. The amount we pay is extremely small, though, compared to what they have to do, especially after this tariff that just started. I mean, if this holds, if the tariff thing holds, then if they don't change funds on us, they're paying even more financially for us to purchase, best case scenario, $500 worth of a singular game in a singular console. I don't know. This is also coming out of the mind of someone who's the son of an accountant. So all these factors, these numbers that I'm putting together actually do come from a legitimate source, even if they're like averages. Also, hope you're doing well, KCO. Yeah, I will admit, though, I do still think Nintendo's being very greedy about it. I mean, for heaven's sake, let's go back to the Wii again for a moment. Or not again. And everyone who has seen anything about the Nintendo stuff going on right now probably already has seen an article about this, but Reggie Fils-Aimé had to convince Nintendo to make Wii Sports free. And I'm sure anybody watching this, including yourself, KCO, probably already know this. It is kind of dumb that he had to do that. It's good business marketing, but it is kind of stupid still. But even still, I mean, I personally understand the reasoning behind all of it, like the logistics, the financial reason behind it. But like I've said already, it's not user friendly. It's not consumer friendly to do such. And of course, this whole tariff thing here in the US has only made things worse. Who knows what's going to happen at this point? I mean, when you look at the history of all this stuff, though, what? How many gigs does a PS5 by default hold? Holds like, what? 100 gigs of space? Like, if I were to do a comparison right now, let's see if I can alter this for a moment. That. You're coming with me. Just moving slightly. Let's look at this really quick. Okay. PS5 cost. $400. PS5 features. Lightning speed. Sometimes. SSD. Okay, yes. Create and share. 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. That's true. That's something it'll even have over the Switch too. 4K entertainment. Haptic feedback. Adaptive triggers and new PS5 controller. $400. And how much space does this thing have again? Like, the GPU has 10 teraflops, apparently, is what they're called. I've never understood that term. Okay, the space, I think the amount of space it has is actually like almost 700 gigs of space. This does not like make Nintendo look good at all. Actually, this is why I'm kind of trying to discuss, because I'm trying to decipher the reasoning behind all this. But no, yeah, this definitely makes Nintendo look greedy, because almost 700 gigs of space from Sony, and even up to 4 terabytes. And the worst case scenario I've seen is like $500 from them. $500 also would be Nintendo's Switch 2 with Super Mario or Mario Kart World. If I remember hearing correctly. Because I think there was a bundle people keep talking about where it's $500 for both. So 253, I think is what it was, gigs of space and a game. For the same price as a console that has almost 700 gigs of space. Yeah, that's definitely greed. I can agree with people on that after digging into that. I don't know. I've been trying to like figure out why they would think this way, but I got nothing. Even I'm at a loss, and I don't give up easily on that kind of stuff. Hey, good. All right. Well, and actually, on a financial front, I'd go back to my original comparison of saying that they're acting a lot like that of what Atlas was acting like for Persona 3 Reload. Except, again, not 120 bucks, 80. I feel like if Atlas made a game console, though, why do I feel like that console would cost over 700 bucks? I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on it. Anyway, I just wanted to rant about this, try to figure things out, but sheesh. I feel like I don't know whether I'm happy or not that I didn't watch the Nintendo Direct. Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens. Anyway, I'm going to leave this here. Thanks to KCO for hopping in the chat. Shout out to you for that. And thanks to anybody who watched this. I don't know. Do you agree with any of like the speculatory things that I said about this? I'm trying to understand it, and I said I did earlier, but I don't know if I fully understand this. I honestly don't. Anyway, yeah. Thanks to everybody who watched, and I'll see you guys later.